About 7 years ago, I made a video titled Everything Palpatine Did When Killing Plagueis, and a lot of you liked it. It got millions of views, and everyone really enjoyed that information. Now, of course, that was when Star Wars was, well, lore information was peak. However, the few of you that watched this video, I'm sure you'll really enjoy this, and I know a lot of you will remember that old one, because today we're going to be going over everything Palpatine did when killing his family. Now, this pivotal event is from Chapter 11, Avatar of Mortality, in James Luceno's novel Darth Plagueis, which is my favorite Star Wars book. It really changes how we see Palpatine, and I, like many of you, really want to see a Palpatine movie or a show. However, not done with the same people that handle all the Star Wars Disney Plus shows. I would like to see it done properly and adapted exactly from the book. Now, this moment is fully embraced Palpatine. This moment is the dark side, it's death itself, as he says. And it set himself irreversibly on the path to becoming Darth Sidious. Just like Anakin killed the Tusken Raiders, this was Anakin's moment of breaking into the darkness and forever dominating his destiny. Now, before we get into the very dark details here, we need to know exactly why Palpatine was even in this situation to begin with. Palp's relationship with his dad, Kunsinga Palpatine, who was a very powerful and influential nobleman of Naboo, had always been filled with tension. Palpatine was rebellious, defiant, and utterly disdainful of his father's attempts to control him. Palpatine does not like to be controlled. When Sheev met Darth Plagueis under the alias Higo Damask, Plagueis saw an unmatched potential for darkness in young Palpatine. Over time, Plagueis became Palpatine's secret mentor, deliberately pushing him towards rebellion and fostering his darkest impulses. Now, this turning point came when Palpatine's father, increasingly alarmed by his son's rebellious behavior and association with the shady Damask, decided to forcefully separate them. Kunsinga arranged to send Palpatine away from Naboo, far from Damask's influence, and essentially imprisoning him under family supervision on another planet, where he would get his muscle to force Palpatine to just stay there. Palpatine was tricked onto the family's starship by his father, who planned to exile him from his political ambitions and Sith studies entirely. "You've made a liar out of me," Kunsinga said, voice trembling with anger. "You've made me a liar to Varuna, and you've brought disgrace on the House Palpatine, but no longer. We are taking you away from Naboo, away from Damask's grasp." So, trapped aboard this family vessel and desperate to escape, Palpatine's rage and desperation reached its breaking point finally. Now, keep in mind, this is after being groomed by Plagueis to really harness these emotions and act upon them. So, on board, Palpatine's father, Kunsinga, directly confronts him, venting years of pent-up frustration and openly accusing Palpatine of harboring murderous intentions. Like, it wasn't good on either side. Palpatine was just very cool, calm, and collected, but answering him back in a very evil way, like not denouncing the fact that he wanted to kill his dad, but then also his dad was literally talking about how he always wanted to kill his son and that he is from some other entity, not even his, really. Let's read this quote from the book and examine it. "Yes, there it is," Kunsinga said, staring with disgust. "The glower I've been on the receiving end of for 17 long years. As if you want to murder me. Murder has always been in your thoughts, hasn't it? You've merely been waiting for someone to grant you permission to act." And Palpatine glares back, eyes darkening dangerously. "I don't need anyone's permission." At this moment, Palpatine was cornered. His anger boiled over, not just at his father's accusations, but at the very idea of anyone having power over him. Kunsinga said, "Hated you more than you know. Enough to want to kill you from the start." In response, Palpatine, now consumed by rage, challenged his father directly. "Then you had better do it now," Palpatine said coldly. As Kunsinga took a step forwards, young Palpatine unleashed the dark side of the Force and violently hurled his father across the cabin into a bulkhead. Injured and terrified, Kunsinga tried desperately to call for help, but Palpatine's power overwhelmed him and made him lose his breath. Twisting violently around, Kunsinga fell over one of the acceleration chairs, bloodying his face as it struck the armrest. So his dad was now just trying to get out of there. He was trying to call for the guards. He was bleeding, he was broken, he was bleeding all over the place, desperately just crawling away from his son as if in some horror movie. Kunsinga pushed himself to his knees and began a terrified retreat, leaving smears of blood on the deck, but Palpatine was advancing on him now. So I can just see the scene perfectly where Palpatine is just walking very slowly, menacingly, as Kunsinga is just frantically scurrying out of there with just blood dripping down his face and leaving smear marks all over the floor. This wasn't really a fight anymore, it was Palpatine fully succumbing to his powers, to his darkest impulses. He hunted his father like prey, and that's what this scene really is embodying, savoring the moment that he's wanted to kill his dad for all of these years. And it's the power that the dark side is granting him. This was no controlled use of the Force. This was violent, explosive, and filled with Palpatine's pent-up fury. In moments, he slaughtered everyone aboard, his parents, siblings, and the guards. Luceno vividly portrays the horror and chaos of this moment. "I executed them with these," Palpatine exclaimed to Plagueis later, raising his clawed hands, voice trembling with a perverse sense of awe. "And with the power of my mind, I became a storm, Magister. A weapon strong enough to warp bulkheads and hurl bodies across cabin spaces. I was death itself." In that instant, Palpatine wasn't just killing his family, he was severing himself from his past life, the last restraints holding him back from total darkness and absolute power. Now, across the galaxy, Darth Plagueis felt this disturbance in the Force. He was recognizing it immediately as Palpatine's full embrace of darkness. Plagueis was both astonished and deeply satisfied by this profound shift. A sudden current of intense dark side energy snaked through Plagueis, stronger than any feeling he had experienced since the death of Darth Tenebris. The disturbance was powerful enough to snap him completely out of his trance, a rite performed, a confirmation conferred. Plagueis swiftly contacted Palpatine, offering immediate support and instructions to conceal his horrific actions. "We need to return you quietly and covertly to Chandrila. I'm sending help, my droid among them. Offer no explanations of what occurred, even if asked, but follow every command without question," he says. Palpatine was overwhelmed yet exhilarated by what he'd done, and he began to see clearly the depths of Plagueis' manipulation, but also realized that he'd crossed to the point of no return. This slaughter of his family wasn't just about killing his family. It symbolized Palpatine fully embracing his identity as Darth Sidious. His family, particularly his father, represented control, restriction, and everything that has held him back. By violently removing them from existence, Palpatine eliminated all constraints and control over him. He accepted his destiny not only as a Sith, but as a being of absolute darkness and power. In a conversation afterwards, Palpatine accused Plagueis bitterly of manipulation, only to receive a chilling, calm reply. "You used me," Palpatine accused bitterly. "There was no other way." Plagueis replied evenly, "You asked for my help, and I provided it. Your father attempted to thwart you, and you acted of your own free will." This conversation reveals a lot of the core of the Sith philosophy: ultimate self-reliance, self-control, self-choices, betrayal, and power at any cost, by any means necessary. His massacre of his family directly echoes through the entire prequel trilogy, where his cold manipulation of Anakin was informed by his own brutal past. Just as Plagueis had groomed and isolated him, Palpatine later isolated and manipulated Anakin, turning the Jedi's greatest hero, the Chosen One, into their biggest threat. Well, at least until the end when he brings actual balance. In the book, we get to see this moment as like the first immense moment of power born from his rage and what he's truly capable of, his actual evilness. And this was something that he directly replicates in Anakin's journey. The Sith tradition was passed from Plagueis to Sidious and then eventually to Vader, which is rooted in personal pain, manipulation, and betrayal. It was Palpatine's foundational tragedy, shaping his entire Sith identity and setting the stage for the fall of the Jedi and the rise of the Empire. Now, the unfortunate part here is that, yes, he was very powerful and very thrust into his own anger, but that is exactly what led to his downfall. When Vader lifted him over his head, Palpatine was so enraged with the betrayal, which he knew was coming, which he knew all the Sith do, it's just how they operate, that he could not focus where to direct his Sith lightning or how to even kill Vader or get out of that moment. He was just so engulfed in the dark side and in hatred that he was just kind of stuck screaming and shooting lightning in the air. And, well, before he realized really what to do or to snap out of it, he was thrown overboard. And, well, that's the end of him. But of course, I want to hear from you guys. What was Palpatine always destined for? Do you think it was darkness, or could things have gone differently if his father had handled things maybe in another way? Do you blame his dad for the way Palpatine ended up? Did Plagueis' manipulation push Palpatine past a point that he could never return from? Star Wars has taught us that you can always return from your most evil deeds. You can always change for the better. It's never too late. Maybe you won't be fully forgiven, but at least you won't be continuing down the dark path, and your road to redemption can finally begin. Do you think Palpatine ever had a road to redemption, could ever be redeemed? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If you made it to the end of this video, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thanks so much for watching this vid. And if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so that you get more videos like this. Until the next one, I wish you all the best, and I hope you have a great day. And as always, remember, my fellow Jedi and Sith friends, the Force will be with you, always.